the spark alive in your relationship? It's a good question. Okay, so let me just share from my experience of this and what's kind of helped me in the last few years in a particular relationship. I think the times that the spark feels like it's been reignited, it's really been to do with having had a conversation that involves being really open and honest. So maybe you're going along and you're having a good time, and then maybe something comes up and you kind of go away and you're sort of thinking about this issue, and then you feel this kind of distancing from the person because either it's something they've done that's upset you and you're feeling hurt, and you maybe feel like you don't know how to talk to them about it, or that maybe they've tried to justify their behaviour in some way when you have tried to talk about it. And so it feels like there's this distance created because it's like something that's unresolved. And I kind of took an oath to myself after having been in a very long-term relationship of 18 years. And then when I came out of that and met someone new, I decided that because it was like a fresh start, I wasn't going to let anything build up. I wasn't going to let anything that was unresolved, I wasn't going to let anything slip, and that I wanted to address the issues as they came up, as they arose. And I wasn't 100% successful at that all of the time, but so maybe some things gathered, maybe some things kind of piled up, and then I would have to have that conversation, and it would all come out in the one go. But it was spoken about, and then maybe some of those things were repetitive, and they would come up again in a month or two because they hadn't properly been addressed. So I just kept looking at it. I kept looking at the particular issues that were coming up, and there has to be this willingness in the relationship between the two people that they are together for that process of evolution, and that they are willing to face their own issues and programs basically that come up within the relationship. So as long as you're both willing to do that and you can have these open dialogues, then there's nothing that can't be resolved, as long as you both are willing to have that conversation and willing to see the other's perspective and consider their perspective. Because really that's what we're addressing within relationships. It's just different perspectives, different ways of looking at things, and this is often based on our own programming, our conditioning, the things that we've learned from our parents or society. And so when these issues come up, it's about being able to address them with one another and have an intelligent and mature relationship, an intelligent and mature conversation, so that we're able to bring it out and put it on the table and work as a team. So it's really about bringing things into consciousness, into the light of consciousness, so that two minds or two higher selves can kind of look at whatever it is and see it from the point of view of the one infinite creator. So it's basically bringing the stuff out to look at. So how do you keep the spark alive? It's by being able to do that, being able to face your stuff, and being able to do it with this other being who is holding that space of unconditional love. So if you know that you both love each other, and you just know that, and you're willing to listen, and you're willing to work through the issues because you love each other, then what happens is, in that opening up, in that honesty, in that vulnerability, in that ability to not be defensive or self-protective, but to be able to actually bring up whatever it is and look at it together, so that you can have maybe some objective wisdom come through the other, that helps you actually see the root cause of what the problem is, or where the issue started from. And so really you're just bringing it up to be loved, released in the light of consciousness. And when you do that, when you're actually willing to do that, an amazing transformation occurs. And it just brings you closer together. And in my experience, what happened is every time those conversations were made, it's like, it just opens your heart, it just opens your heart, and it brings you so close together. And that's what keeps the spark alive in your relationship. And that's how to keep the spark alive in your relationship. Don't let things build up. Don't let unresolved issues or resentments, don't harbour resentments. Don't hold anything. Don't be holding anything. And what I mean by that is don't be holding anything emotionally or mentally about the other that's just making you think, and making your mind turn over and over, because that will keep the distant. That will keep the distant between you. So what you want to do is bring those things up to be looked at, speak to your partner, and make sure that you can just put the light on those things so that you can reveal them and basically be transparent and let your defenses down, and you will find that it brings you much, much closer together, because it's like honesty, and as long as you're both in a place of non-judgment. So it's being able to share in the space of non-judgment and unconditional love. And as long as both parties are willing to do that, then there really isn't anything that you can't address and resolve together. So that's how to keep the spark alive in your relationship. Thank you for listening.